Well, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is DB333, and welcome back to our turn for the New Order Last Days Are Up Now. This is feeling like some major deja vu, because I already recorded this. In fact, I was going to upload part 2. Let's see, I recorded, parts 2 through 6? And I was going to upload part 2 sometime today. Then I stopped to look at the footage, and unfortunately, the audio didn't pick up, and so I have to re-record a lot of audio, which I'm not looking forward to. But hey, let's not get too hung up in that. Let's focus on what we're doing. And I do realize now there are some other things that I can redo and refocus on, which is actually not the worst thing, because I didn't handle. It was good stuff, but unfortunately it didn't. It wasn't the most efficient, so this is a new opportunity to hopefully do it more efficiently. Anyway, last video, what do we do? That's right. We started off. We've got a feel for the situation on the ground here in Magadan. Started acquiring some advisors, and we're probably going to work on our army a little bit more in the coming video. The next, let's see, 45 minutes. Just need to set my timer. There we go. So we're going to talk to the Tsar, the President, not directly, and the Volst, and try to go ahead and figure our shit out. And I think I was talking in the first video where it doesn't really matter. I wasn't sure if it mattered or not. From my understanding, it doesn't. So I think we're going to go with a local force, get some extra manpower, that organization, get the free upgrade of our military professionalism, and Siberian School. Get the elite union of Siberian Rangers. And see how that ends up working. But until then, we gotta keep on going. We got a bit of a ways to get to that point. So let's not focus on that quite yet. I'm also noticing Brigati is doing pretty well. They ended up winning in, well, I was about to say, because they ended up winning in my game, in the parts that I already recorded. But it looks like that might not be happening this time. I don't know. Let's not focus on that right now. Let's go to radical techniques. The Far East is a wild, wild land, sparsely inhabited even during the Union Empire. Without the civilization to sustain the Russian expansion east, life has become challenging and unrelenting. The forests and tundras of Siberia, war does not assume the character it has further west. With no significant infrastructure to speak of, warfare in the north has been reduced to skirmishes between the powers that battle for control of the Far East. To come out on top in Siberia would mean abandoning the general precepts of war as is taught in Europe. For the sake of our cause, we must leave behind everything we know. After all, the methods of war change to fit the ages. Our soldiers will receive a radical new training regime, based on the lessons we have learned from the Siberian natives. Soon the forests and tundras of Siberia will be the plains and fields of western Russia to us, with no obstacle to stop us from attacking the enemy, or it be Radzevsky, the Tsarist, or even the Reds. So yeah, let's get going on it. The Civil Rights Act? Not bad, not bad. So far, so good in the US of A. We'll see what happens there. I know Speer ended up winning here, so we'll see if Speer can manage to come back once again. Anyway, we got Trading Faces. Hey! It's you! Tom turned to meet the eager Russian whose slurred speech and broken English could most likely be attributed to the bottle he clutched. The frankness of a drunkard reminded him of back home. It was an amusing end to a long day. You've got it all wrong, pal. Oh. Don't make merry with me, American. You're John. The famous hero in the cowboy hat. Come with me. An arm slinked around Tom's shoulders, and the pair began walking towards the city center. Tom thought for a moment, glancing over his shoulder back towards his crew and the sad, cold dockyards they inhabited. For a split second, he prepared to shake the mane off, and his posture relaxed and his resistance stopped. Why not be John Wayne for a while? The two men eventually reached a bar, and Thomas Tremblay's newfound comrade Alexander kicked open the doors violently. Brothers! Look at the American who's tried to come smuggling into our port. The one from the movies. Blank faces stared back at the unfolding spectacle, seemingly annoyed at the disruption. Tom grinned, mustering a ham-fisted southern drawl. Well, howdy, folks. The room erupted into jovial cheers and laughter, many having been drunken into a stupor themselves indulged with fantasy. Others simply indulged in a good time. Tom was one such man, playing his part and chatting between beers for much of a night. Today had been a good day after all. A warm place and a cold, cold night. Indeed. So we're going to go ahead and get a front line against Amor. And hopefully won't get broken. I'm not too optimistic about that idea, but a man can hope, can't he? Is there anything we want to do? I don't see anything too drastic. Yakutia is one of the big raiders, and I'm not worried about, but they're probably going to annoy me. Because I was able to handle them, you know, when I already recorded this shit, but, yeah. Not too worried about it. Let's just worry about winterizing our gear. Almost all the ways the Far East can be inhospitable, the most prominent is its low temperature. To move in the cold Siberian winter is hard, to fight in it is even harder. Worse, the gear that our soldiers currently use often decays or is otherwise useless in harsh weather. We must find a solution as the winter conditions are a near constant concern for the troops. Moreover, acquiring more durable equipment for Siberian winter would give our soldiers another crucial advantage against our enemies. Minkowski will order all military equipment to be winterized. As most of our equipment is not ready to be used in low temperature, this will be a lengthy and involved process. However, this is a struggle we must endure. The eventual liberation of Russia will take everything we have. And this small inconvenience is nothing compared to that challenge. Someday when Minkowski rules Russia, all of this will prove its worth. There we go. Get some nice bonuses all around. I'm pretty content with those, honestly. Looking at all the requirements, we need the FIFA World Cup final. Collapse of Triumvirate. Yeah. Oh no, Briattia still won. Okay. The wholesome Reddit Savlin whatever was won. Yeah, okay. The crowds were rejoicing, a rare sight in Russia. Their cinemas didn't even have levels for their seats, and the people had to compete and shove others out of the way for a glimpse of a silver screen. Thomas sat in the projector booth, nursing a bottle of vodka personally given by the Voz, who was sitting in the front. He took a sip, expecting the bitter flavor to overwhelm him. Instead, it felt light, tasting of dirt. Horrible. He put it down, setting it behind his ankles. Thomas stared at the image, a blurry mess of green blobs charging black dots on the screen. Today's movie was an adaptation of a famous American comic book, Captain America. For Thomas, a connoisseur supreme of the movie industry, this film was trash. Its projection and audio were even worse than the script. He had found it out too late that the lenses didn't fit, and he had to prop it in with some tape. The result was a screen infested with a permanent blur, and the crackling, scarce, and incomplete audio made the viewing experience into something fantastical. Mikhail Minkowski, the Voz of the Russians, as he styled himself, sat at the front. A charismatic, almost intimidating man, it was almost comical to see him laughing at what Americans would think was garbage. Intelligence, it seemed, did not uplift taste. Mikhail Minkowski, the Voz of the Russians, as he styled himself, sat at the front. A charismatic, almost intimidating man, it was almost comical to see him laughing at what Americans would think was garbage. Intelligence, it seemed, did not uplift taste. The hero charged at the enemy, and the brown blots collapsed and tumbled backwards. The crowds cheered, and the air was that of discordant revelry. Thomas leaned down to pick up the bottle of vodka, only to send it tumbling and spilling all over the floor. He sighed. It's going to be a long, long night. There we are. So I got the winterized gear. Let's go ahead and sit out the winter. We have done all that we can. The factories and farms stand their produce, finding their way to the soldiers and citizens alike. Native advisors have trained our men to harden soldiers capable of surviving the inhospitable Far Eastern climate while maintaining combat effectiveness. The winterization order is complete. The equipment churned out by our manufacturers are now capable of performing in low temperatures. We are ready to act, but winter is coming. There's not much we can do against the forces of nature. We must sit the winter out and station the soldiers to perform maintenance on the telegram poles and roads. Patrols will still happen to ensure that Minkowski's domain will remain free of crime and banditry, but no combat experience will take place. All units will operate as usual, adjusting for weather. When it ends, there is an enormous task that awaits us, and Minkowski shall stand ready at the helm. Yeah, okay. Says I can promote this guy. Let's get infantry expert. I don't know how much we're going to be using this guy for longer. I might swap him out later on, but for now, he'll do. Let's see. I want to see if I can swap this out with a... Not the best idea right now. Let's wait till we get more factories and such. We've sat out the winter. Let's go ahead and get some transistor computing. And it's time for desperate times. After all that we have done, it's come to this. Our food supplies are running out. Our winterized equipment barely works on the winter winds. And our farms and factories are now functional. Damn, it's still July. That's not a good sign. The winter might have come and gone, but has left a mark on our efforts to stabilize the realm and gain traction amid the harsh Siberian conditions. Perhaps it is time to look outwards, using Mikulski's plans to reach out to foreign powers and emigres to support his cause in Russia. We have 3 options we can go through. The Tsar, residing in Chita, is our unwilling enemy at best, but perhaps we can convince his clique to accept a ceasefire. The Americans, under their President Nixon, may be inclined to support us, provided we make them promises of reform. Finally, the Russian emigres, the most prominent of whom is the influential fascist Anastasy Vonsiatsky, might be persuaded to throw their resources behind our cause. Regardless of whom we convince to support us, one thing is clear. The party will not survive alone. Let's do it. Oh, we can scavenge some loot. Radio free... Magadan free radio. Broadcast 1. The broadcast started wrong. Before the talk show began, the Magadan free radio played a sequence of songs played by crackling audio. The inexperienced crews of EMFR, fascists unused to any work other than thuggery, had mixed with sound with too much bass and mistakenly placed the treble dial. The audio cuts. Is this thing on? Oh, it is! We're live. What the hell are you saying? Trembling on the table as a voice closed in. 3 taps on the table. Follow the script. Did you forget to disconnect the fucking microphone? Did you? This is such a fucking disaster. An electronic discharge sounded. As the mic was unplugged, the badly mastered songs continued, rattling the first broadcast of EMFR. The audio cuts out. Again, the coarse voice returned, still too close for the mic. Hello, fellow Russians in the Far East. Welcome to the very first broadcast of Magadan Free Radio. My name is Sergey. I'm the host of the radio tonight, along with my friend Vasily. And a few moments later, he shouted into the mic, likely blowing out a few eardrums. Vasily! Vasily took his seat audibly. With a little sigh, he began. Yes, my friend Sergey here. We shall accompany you through the many, many cold Siberian nights in the future. Whew. For now, we'd like to thank Mr. Mikulski of the Vols of the RFB for sponsoring this program. For now, let's proceed with the music. Just before the audio was turned on again, the smooth baritone said, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" What a way to make a first impression. Hey, it helps with our support. People seem to like the fascism more because of that. Not entirely sure how that worked, but we'll go with it. So let's see what's going on in the rest of the world. Buryatia, not much progress over there. The U.S. is helping out the Philippines. Probably not a bad option. Well, then again, there's not much that happens in the Philippines right now, so I can't really speak to that. Well, let's go ahead and work on the Tsar. Starting off. Just barely separated from our territory by the violent forces of Wardzavsky, Chita has more in common with us than most other warlord states. An evolution of the diverse emigrant movements and organizations that appeared in Harbin, the regime has based itself not on fascism but Tsarism. The group of white generals behind Chita's foundation approached Michael Andreevich, a descendant of the Romanovs, yet one with little legitimacy, as a contender for the throne, and took a part of Yagoda's empire as it collapsed. We share a lot in common, both in our ideologies and our enemies, and Mikhail seems eager to cooperate and forge a closer relationship, for now. It might be difficult due to the lack of an overland connection, but that will not stop us from making contact with our new friends in Chita. There we go. And we can always hike it through all dawn, I guess. That is an option. We could do that. Oh, we got all done. What else? They're trying the NKVD. We'll figure out what wholesome Reddit man is going to do. Oh, we got... To the honorable claimant to the throne of Russia, the letter read so far, we have come to beseech you for your aid against a mutual enemy, the traitor Konstantin Radzevsky. Now, the letter not ought to be so direct. Putting out the pen, Makovsky laid his hand across his face and side. Leaning his forearm against the table and propping his head against his open palm, he stared at the page, waiting for it to be filled with his writing. His tea sat right below him, its smell tempting him. Makovsky tapped his feet. He had no time for that now. For the first time in a long while, Makovsky found himself adjusting his glasses, his fingers rapping at the table in sequence. 1,000 questions swarmed his mind. What if his Tsars reject the treaty? What if we find the terms unacceptable? He shuddered to think what would happen if both sides did not cooperate against Radzevsky. Someone knocked on the door. Rather than answering, Makovsky's index finger mimicked the rhythm on the table. Standing from his seat, he said aloud, "The letter's not ready yet. Go away." The knocking stopped. He looked at the letter. Clapping his hands together and drawing a deep breath, he sat down, toying with the pen as he thought of what to say to Mikhail. We appeal in the name of our old friendship. In the anti-Bolshevik front, as we all know, he found his hand picking up speed. Before long, he would stand and say, "The letter's ready. Come in." So we'll get 25 political power, and we'll get an offer from the moderates. Or they'll get an offer from moderates. So we have relations with America. Through Anastasia von Siatsky, we have connections with several influential families and groups in the U.S. We can leverage this to gain support for our efforts in Russia. So support for our regime is currently very low. We'll go ahead and increase that right now. And, yeah. I gotta check our societal development because I'm not sure. What we need to get working on. Research labs next. So whenever we finish up that loot, I'll go ahead and put it towards research labs. If I remember. Of course. Smuggling routes. The biggest problem with reaching a mutually beneficial relationship with Tsar Mikhail's state has been finding an answer to the question of how to reach them. But we've developed a solution. It's a well-known fact that in the Far East, the settlements and the links between them are few and far between. This means that if we are careful and closely examine our pathways and schedules, it is actually possible to create a route, or even several of them, that will be able to connect us to Cheetah through secret means. These routes, guarded by our best men, will allow for a flow of weapons and resources that goes both ways, and even the transport of emissaries between our states. If we can smuggle anything we want to and from Cheetah, this is a good first step in overcoming geography and establishing a diplomatic relationship. Diplomatic relations. I'm trying to save that sentence. That read. Foe scavenging for loot. And we want research facilities. So let's do it. Get working on all that slowly but surely. What do we want to do now? It's not too much. We're finishing up smuggling routes. Yeah, we might as well... Let's put aside our differences for now, I think. We and the Royalists of Cheetah have much in common, yet we have many disagreements as well. We share a common background, but while they trace our roots to the old ways of the Tsar's empire, our ideology stems from a new and fresh movement, that of Russian fascism. Of course, it's the faith of the old Russian generals and politicians and the power of a monarch that separates us, but that does not make reconciliation impossible in this dire environment. To face the common enemy, that is Radzevsky's fascist party, we'll make a move by showing our friendship and respect for Cheetah by proposing a pact of cooperation and non-aggression with them. If they accept, then we might even have a chance to strike at a war with more safety. There we go. Now, they accepted this when I did it. I'm not sure if that's going to happen again, but it would be nice if it did. Let's do some industrial investments. Anything infrastructure related? Can't see. I don't think so. ILP won the elections. This more or less seems to be going kind of as I figured it would. Herr Hitler is doing all that. What else is going on? What is South Africa doing? Cracking down their publications. That's not going to be... That's probably not the best way to do it, but, okay. Anyway, we've treated cooperation. Here's a tree that the Tsar sent, Petlin said, placing the draft of agreement on the table. Sir. He almost adjusted his tie again before the stern stare of Aval stopped his left hand. Yet those eyes did not judge Petlin's mannerisms in any detail. They went up and down the document, examining its fine print, looking for chinks in the deal the Tsarist, or the RFP for that matter, could exploit. No word on it seemed to raise any reaction from Mikulski beyond an occasional rise of the eyebrows and a nod. Putting the document aside, Mikulski turned to address his foreign minister. Petlin, he said, chilling every bone in the minister's body. He gulped. It was a final moment of truth, where the Vols would deliver its final verdict. Good work. You exceeded my personal expectations. Before I sign this, is there anything else you'd like to add? Petlin drew a deep breath. No, there is none. Mikulski's hand promptly drew a signature on the document. It is done. He dropped the pen and rose. Deliver this to the representative of Tsarist and tell him that the Vols accepts the deal, and deaf to Radzevsky. Standing in front of Petlin, he offered his hand. I appreciate that I have at least one competent person in charge of affairs around here. A smile, a rare thing for Mikulski to show. Petlin shook his hand. Yes, sir, I will do as you say. Your compliments are high praise for my blood and station, sir. Mikulski patted his shoulder. All in a day's work. Petlin turned and left where he came in. Deaf to Radzevsky. Sir, non-aggression pact. Put our differences aside. Let's go ahead and divide and conquer. Since the days we split from the RFP hardliners, Radzevsky's forces in Amur have been the biggest threat to our survival. No other frontier is as heavily guarded as our southern one. It is not uncommon for the situation there to escalate into raids and skirmishes by the border garrisons. Now that we have found allies in Chita, we can make at least a show of force to demonstrate our powers and test our capabilities as well. When we find the perfect moment to strike, and when we do a raid larger than any other we've launched with, Tsarist will help distract Radzevsky's army in the east, and we will hopefully improve our position in the freezing lands of eastern Siberia. There we go. That's civilian construction 2 done. Now let's go ahead and work on the free repair. So that'll be pretty damn important once we start conquering stuff. We need to start working on all the damage that saboteurs do. So we've divided. Soon we will conquer. Now let's meet with President Richard Nixon. To find our greatest potential supporter, we must look across the vast Pacific Ocean and set our eyes on the superpowers of the Western Hemisphere, the United States of America. They are one of the 3 most powerful nations in the world and possess almost unparalleled industrial and military might. Mikulski has his eyes set on getting at least a small fraction of that to support his quest to reclaim Russia. President Nixon is the nation's current leader, and so far he's not shown much willingness to involve American-Russian affairs, something we need to change. There are 2 requirements to gain American support. The first is to prove our regime can be a useful and reliable asset. The second is to show that we are different from the fascists they hate. Achieving both will be crucial if we want the overseas aid to arrive. Well, there we go. Let's get some infrastructure in Magadan while we're here. Construction is kind of coming along. We'll be done by 65, it seems. Not preferable at all, but hey, what are you going to do? It'll come with time. Got the president. Now let's go ahead and get the Siberian Bill of Rights. Big obstacle preventing us from receiving support from across the Pacific is our ideology, as the American government is under the impression that we are an oppressive and totalitarian regime like the ones they are struggling to fight against. To portray ourselves in a positive light, perhaps it is time to begin making reforms, or at least appear to be making them, and a good start is a guarantee on the rights of our citizens. A formal document will be drafted and signed by Mikhail Mikulski, guaranteeing basic rights such as equal treatment, freedom of expression, and freedom of assembly to all people, ethnic Russians or not. Regardless of whether we follow the law to the letter, it will be a sign that we are eager to reform and we are not the same as the German Nazis, something the USA definitely cares about. There we go. Nikolai Petlin adjusted his tie. A mental tick, something he'd learned a long time ago in the RFP. Looking over his desk, he ruminated on the task Mikolsky assigned to him. A typewriter surrounded by rolls and rolls of ink. Practically luxury. Petlin could not imagine writing those letters and appeals by hand. He spent long hours in this office, and his fingers twitched as he prepared himself to type again. His assistants could only do so much. None spoke English, and to ask Mikolsky for aid would overstep propriety. He remembered the words Mikolsky told him. Convince the man in the White House. That is all. Mikolsky did not like being taken lightly. The best of times, Petlin could see the old Harbin spirit in him, a spirit of hope, of kindling, of prayer for a new home. The winter had extracted its toll upon the man, and the gaunt, flushed cheek were but symptoms of the payment. He looked beneath his desk, stacks upon stacks of paper, numbering almost in the thousands. Soon, upon the completion of his tasks, these would be sent to America, finding themselves in the mailboxes of senators, representatives, Russian emigres, and other assorted people who were receptive to Mikolsky's project. On top of the furthest stack lay a folder bound in manila yellow. Plastered to the front of it was a label that read, The Siberian Bill of Rights. The document contained Petlin's personal ideals to solicit more aid, or at least sympathy from Americans. He wondered if Mikolsky knew what his real sympathies were. He shook his head. Now was not the time for the mind to wander. He laid his fingers upon the keys of a typewriter, and the clacking began. Let's hope this works! Fingers crossed. Let's train troops, get some more manpower. Another 1,000 ought to be good. A little army experience on top of it. We could train another guy. We need a lot more infantry equipment, though. Yeah, production of infantry equipment is kind of lacking, so... This is far too liberal, Petlin. It seems almost socialist to me. He put the set of files down and pressed his index finger against it. This is not acceptable. It was inconceivable that you would present this to me in the first place. How could he do this? Petlin, the man he considered to be almost a brother to him, his own foreign minister! He stared into Petlin's eyes, finding fear and obedience settling their weight into his psyche. Maybe this was not intentional after all. Sir, if I can explain myself, Petlin said, freezing his hand before it could correct his tie. The Americans are different from us. We need to... I get your point, Petlin. It's just... This is not what we stand for. When I read your document, I found phrases like the right to assembly, right to free speech. These are all dangerous ideas, not fit for Russia. Their rebellious intent practically jumps off the pages. Just what the hell were you thinking, brother? Petlin gathered himself and stood straighter. Sir, if I may insist, my ideas can still be useful, not only in convincing the Americans, but the Russians as well. I have faith in the strength of our ideals and convictions, sir. I do. I beg you not to mistake my incompetence as rebelliousness. Mikolsky felt a rare moment of generosity, stretching his arms wide. Petlin, he said, tapping his foreign minister on the shoulders. I would never. You have been with us since the beginning, closer to me than even my chancellor. Now help me with these. All these. I'm afraid that your brother lacks the skill necessary to convince the Americans. Yes. I will do it, as you say. Good. Now, cut back. We can't afford all of this. Make holes and loop them. Dismissed. Petlin left the room in a great hurry. Sacrifices have to be made. Well, let's go ahead and do some promises to reform. That'll work. Now that we have stated our intent to ensure freedom for our foreign citizens, it's time to appeal to the United States directly, instead of beating around the bush. In an address made by Arvalst in front of his citizens of Magadan and directed at the White House, he will state that the regime, even though it was born out of the RFP, is open to reform, and it will not fight against it, but embrace it instead. The hope is that this great call for reform will reach the president of the congressmen, the ears of the congressman, and even the president himself, and it will finally change their minds regarding the issue of Russia and how to best approach it. And we can hope. We can hope. What's Comey up to? I know what they did last time, the face of the movement. They have their eyes straight ahead. We'll see if they can stay straight ahead, I guess. We can get some loot. We got a free military factory. Let's get working on anti-tank, I'm thinking. Can we build anything else? We got some more free slots. We're actually building more too. We'll be finished with this by 64 actually. So we might actually finish a factory before war starts. Probably not though. So we have Operation Intrude. The port of Magadan is one of the biggest Russian naval facilities still not occupied by foreign enemies. When the weather permits it, ships of Russia do not regularly make stops for numerous reasons. However, the port also has one more use: to become a receiver of American equipment and supplies. Thus, Erlin Mikulski has devised a plan to make an offer the USA will not refuse. Magadan is quite close to the Japanese home isles that are just across the Okhotsk Sea, and a radar station here would give our future allies the opportunity to spy on their sworn enemies from a closer distance. Perhaps this will make them understand the benefits we can offer, and they will decide to help us. So we'll get a building slot, a naval dockyard, 2 naval bases, and a radar station. Not bad. Not bad at all. We can go ahead and improve American relations, and we can get some guns. I think we'll get those guns. I want to check real quick. What are these guys' armies at? Widespread cronyism. Disgruntled veteran. So, okay. Widespread cronyism. Political interference. Those are really all the ones I can check right now, so I can't really get too much more into it. But let's go with... Well, we've met with the Tsar. We've tried to reach out to the president. The thing we do now is meet with the Vost. Anastasy Andreevich Vonsiatsky, or as he prefers to be known, the Vols of the Russians, is the leader of the fascist emigres in America. Once a close partner of the Russian Fascist Party, Radzevsky's pro-German rhetoric drove him away. Leading his own political organization of white Russian emigres, the RFO, he has garnered significant support from Russian refugees currently residing in the U.S. Now that they've split from Radzevsky, perhaps Vonsiatsky would reconsider his support for the Russian Fascist Party. Having the backing of the foreign-based RFO would give us a source of income untouched by the bayonet raids of Radzevsky or others. Along with his new stream of income, there are rumors that he knows one of the most dangerous men in America, a former OSS operative named Mitchell Werbel III. There's a chance the Vols can put us in touch with him. We must reach out immediately. Mitchell Werbel III. Now that's a man right there. A very, very funny man. I got a lot of people. I was a little surprised by this. In the live chat for the debut today, they were asking, hey, can you do a Rebel game? And I was kind of surprised that a lot of people wanted to see it, even though some people did it. So, I'll do that in the future. I'll say that much. I might lock it behind a sub goal. You know, like, if we get to this point, I'll do it. I was thinking 1,200. I'm not quite certain yet. Don't quote me on that in the future, because I don't know if I'll keep it. I'll keep that, but I might do something. I'll probably do in the future. Just not immediate future. Mason felt nervous. Even though he was an American agent, trained in formal and spoken Russian, he never conversed in any depth with the soldiers, much less given instruction and introduction to American weapons. He smirked. There was an irony to it all. Despite having been schooled and educated in one of the most renowned countries on Earth, Mason was out of his depth as an illiterate Russian fascist standing before him. The cold, chilly air of the early morning gave his percussive heartbeat a tinge of anxiety and excitement in his veins. The training fields were empty save for a few animals scurrying underfoot. An officer prefaced him, "From the honorable nation of America, Mason has come." A bunch of feel-good bromines and legalese, but he guessed the soldiers would need to respect him first before they would be willing to listen to him. He got a few of them eyeing the equipment he brought here. Mason didn't think it was all that impressive considering the things he had seen while working with the agency, but, again, cultural and technological differences. After a few hour-long and anxiety-ridden minutes, it was finally his turn to speak. He drew back his tongue and lashed it out, throwing the dust off a language he seldom used. "Hello. As the officer said, my name is Mason." He grabbed the M1 Garand and held it against his shoulders. "This is the Garand. You." He pointed to a random soldier in the crowd. "Fire your weapon. See how fast you can do it." He pointed to a target in distance. The soldier had to eject his casing every time he fired. Sometimes he resorted to hitting his rifle with his wrist before it worked. "Now, Watch this. He aimed the grenade and fired 8 shots in succession. His streak was stopped by the ping of the gun. He laid the rifle beside him. It spun on the ground. And that is American firepower. Any questions? We got some support equipment and some anti-tank equipment. Beautiful. That's what we need right about now. I'm thinking we'll go ahead. Yeah, we can upgrade that guy at least. Can we upgrade this other guy? Yeah, just about. We just needs to be needs a few ticks for the manpower. And yeah, let's upgrade all these guys to normal divisions. Get rid of that militia crap. Got some good solid divisions for once. Zdarova, Brother Mikolski, a man hailed from the piers of the harbor. A lean body and a pale face, with a hand stretching out in the early morning air, waving Mikolski. Anastetsy Vonsiatsky, also known as a Count of Russian Fascism, had set foot on the port of Magadan. He strode forward, his steps eager and his gait quick, impatient to meet his so-called equal in the old world. Covering his nose once he discovered the smell of the docks, he looked small, pathetic, against the backdrop of wooden fishing ships about to depart in the morning light. Mikolski furrowed his eyebrows. No one in the world currently has the right to address him in such a way. Giving an awkward, plain smile toward Vonsiatsky, he and his bodyguards walked forward to meet this count. Extending his hand, a gesture of hospitality, Mikolski said, "Strasvulsti, how's America treated you?" Vonsiatsky wasted no breath in clasping Mikolski's open palms. "Great, brother." He leaned forward, planning to catch Mikolski in a hug. Mikolski relented. America must have changed Vonsiatsky. The intimate gestures of the overenthusiastic, unreserved spirit, and that greeting. It was all a bit much coming from a fellow Russian. Still drunk in that spirit, Vonsiatsky said aloud, "It is the land of the free. All this, it's too small for us." "You seem to forget the reason you're here, brother," Mikolski said, a hint of coldness in his voice. "No, no." He dipped his hands into his pocket. "This man is a gift from me to you." He showed Mikolski a black and white photograph of an American in a beret. "Tell me more." Oh, fucking emails. Interrupted me. I'm going to check that real quick in case that has to do with my pay. It does not. Okay, I don't know when if I'll be able to figure out my paycheck. Oh, well. Let's welcome Mr. Werbel. The son of a czarist officer in the White Armies, Mitchell Werbel III became an OSS operative during the Great Patriotic War. Among the theaters that he served in were the then British Burma and former French Indochina. After the war ended decisively in Japan's favor, he returned to America to work a mundane job, before deciding that combat was his calling. Since then, he has served in many conflicts the world over, earning him the fearsome nickname, the Wizard of Whispering Death. Mikolski has decided that it would be in the party's interest to welcome this character of a man into our ranks. Along with him will come his entourage, a collection of mercenaries who have fought across the world and are looking to fulfill any need for wet work. We will welcome him and his crew to the port town of Magadan. Once there, they will have their work cut out for them. We shall find that there is wet work to do to their heart's content. There we go. Eric Koch injured in the Kiev bombing. Can't say I feel bad for him. What do we got? Yeah, not too much to do here. A light curtain of drizzle descended upon the port of Magadan. The clouds adorned their bodies with steely gray, and the waters of the harbor tugged and pushed their way inland. Their course halted the low-lying seawalls. Amid the piers, rows upon rows of wooden fishing ships lay steady, their hulls quivering in the fierce wind, shallow rain, and restive water waves. There was one vessel that stood among the others, a metal deck with rust coating its bows. Tumultuous air did not even seem to flinch it. Mikolski, followed by an aide bearing an umbrella to shield him from the downpour, walked forward to the strange vessel. If Vonsiatsky had been speaking the truth, there was no question to the owner of the ship. Mitchell Werbel, legendary mercenary, the veteran of 1,000 wars worldwide, an infamous soldier of fortune, the Wizard of Whispering Death. Nikolsky steeled himself to meet this man of legend before seeing a figure staggering out of a ship, staggering towards him. Nikolsky blinked. There was no mistaking it. The figure was Werbel, looking more green than the photos Mikulski had seen of him, a beret hanging precariously to his scalp. Mikulski tightened his pace, striding forward at such a pace that his aide had difficulty in following him. When he came face to face with Werbel, the man tried to give a clumsy smile, only for it to be mistaken for contempt. "Welcome. We've been expecting you, Mr. Werbel." "Privyet, my tovarish." He continued in Russian, mixing it with English words when he had no clue which words to use. Nikolsky, for his part, tried to dissuade him from bastardizing the Russian language, and occasionally a word or two made it through Werbel's manners. But he was inconsolable. What little correct Russian he spoke was sprinkled with generous helpings of fucking and shit. Blushing furiously in anger and embarrassment, Nikolsky finally extended his hand. "Here's to the start of a beautiful friendship." Werbel clasped his hand with neither doubt nor comprehension. "Da, tovarish." There we go. We have the man in... Oh, do we not have him in quite yet? Maybe not. I think we have to do this one. Yeah. The Russian fascist organization, von Zyatsky's fascist political group, is home to some of the wealthiest donors within the Russian immigrant community. Now that we have his backing, it's time to turn the funds they have provided to a higher cause in their parties and gatherings, in a land that will never be home. The sons and daughters of Russia and America shall no longer find their money squandered by party functionaries for frivolous things. Now, they support a real movement. The RFL shall channel their money from America and across the Bering Strait, in the form of hard currency or even equipment, whether it be war or industry-related. These funds and supplies will help us immensely in the coming conflict against the Splitters and the Reds. Soon we will prepare for these estranged siblings of ours to return to a Russia they have known since their childhood. A strong, capable Russia. One without an equal in this world. There we go. Yakutia and Aldan are rating themselves. Between themselves. Not themselves. So we'll see what happens there. Soldati Besgrantis is the new leader, is the new Authoritarian Democracy Party. Mitchell Werbel is leading it. I'm tempted to do the funny path, but I think I'll hold off just because. I mean, I already promised I was gonna do Petlin. I got a lot of people excited for Petlin. Got one YouTube commenter, Ivan. I'm forgetting the last name off the top of my head. I can go ahead and check real quick. Oh, Igor. I mixed up my Slavic guy names. Igor Donzelli. He's been asking me for this for a while, and I figured, you know what, I might as well help him out. I'll do it for him. So let's go ahead for now. Integrate the mercs. The mercenaries that Werbel brought in are leagues ahead of our current soldiers. How could they not be? After fighting in wars the world over, they are perhaps the most elite force in the Far East, surpassing even the Red Army remnants that the Reds have. They have proven themselves to be a capable asset to Mikulski so far, and although their loyalty is only as strong as their pay, they may be well worth the money. However, due to their independent nature, these mercenaries have been functioning outside of command structures, only taking orders from their commanders, and are generally uncooperative except for direct orders from Mikulski himself. This practice must end. We will integrate their mercenaries into the rank and file. Having better skills does not mean that one is exempt from subordination to a superior. Cooperation with a mercenary like Werbel might be distasteful for some Russians, but the day that Russia can stand on its own is still in the distance. Fair enough. Bulgaria sides with Italia? Mamma mia. Rodzewski is working on proud Russian industry. Hey, it's more stuff for us to take over after all. Yeah. They've integrated their mercs. Vasily had lived in Magadan for his entire life. In the time since the fall of the old Union, the town had seen many highs and many more lows. The lack of trade practically erased the local economy, and the pirates and smugglers out of Kamchatka were the only freight leaving the city these days. Vasily had been the head of a dock workers union before the RFP took over. He was only narrowly spared the news by denigrating himself and denouncing the union in front of his former friends. Now he sat outside a local bar, puking his guts out after another long day of drinking. When it seemed like he could stand on his own, he tried to rise but only managed to puke on a stranger's boots. He coughed out an apology and readied himself for a beating that never came. The stranger helped him up and steadied him before he could tip over. Here, drink. He heard before a canteen of water was thrust in his hands. Thanks. Sorry about the boots. I'd offer to get them replaced, but I spent my last ruble on the booze I spat out. The stranger flinched back as his breath hit him. The man took his canteen back before escorting Vasily back home. If one could call a shack on the outskirts of city home. Sitting on his rusted bed, he saw the stranger sit on an old bar stool he had lying around. The man peered at him before showing him an old and worn photo. Do you recognize them? Vasily looked closely and recognized he could. Yeah, that's old Aaron and his family. Look, kid, if you're looking for them, there ain't no point. They were purged before the RFP split. All of them are dead now, I'm sorry. I see. Thank you. The stranger stood silently and turned to leave, though not before dropping a stack of ruples on the stool. Final hope dashed. Let's go ahead and do... What do we want to do? We have some more industry we can go ahead and do. We're doing that. We actually might want to get working on... let's get night vision. Let's move to some more army stuff. And, let's have our... I'll read this last focus before we cut the video. The Tsarist and Cheetah have agreed to a temporary truce, and are even willing to cooperate in a limited capacity. The Americans have been appeased by our promises of reform, together with the Bill of Rights promulgated in Magadan and sent to the American agencies. From overseas, with support of emigres, have become ours, as von Ziatsky has deigned to join us in the crusade to liberate our sacred homeland. Our position is firm, secure. It's now time to solidify ththese advantages as Makovsky's ideals take root in the Far East. Before the party in Magadan proceeds to its holy task, perhaps it is time to stop and let the results of these treaties simmer for a while. Let the funds overseas flow into the coffers of the party, with American support ensuring steady gains. Limited cooperation with Tsarist and Cheetah will continue as we raid Makovsky's followers from both sides. Soon Makovsky will use all that he has gained for his next step, a Siberian army. And I think with that, we're going to cut it here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you as always for watching. If you like this video, leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike and want to see more of this content feature. The sub button for more uploads every weekday, as well as every Saturday. If you have any comments, feedback, concerns, leave in the comment section below. I read all the comments. Again, appreciate any feedback you might have for me. If you want to chat, play games, anything sort, check out my Discord, down the link below. If you want to send me bucks more every month, check out my Patreon. And if you want to see me do a source of life, I have a Twitch, all of which are down in the description box below. That's really it for now, ladies and gentlemen. My name has been DB333. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.